Welcome to Module 2. In this module, we will be exploring logic models. By the end of this module, you will be able to outline the components of a logic model, develop a basic logic model for your program, and discuss the benefits of using a logic model. The material in this module is relevant to assignment number 1. First, I'd like to ask you, have you ever used a logic model before? Have you ever created a logic model before? We use logic models every day. We might just not label them as logic models. That is, any time when there is a sequence of events that is expected to create a change to then help resolve a problem, we are using a logic model. Take, for example, a headache logic model. Say, for example, that you are suffering from a severe headache. Think about the sequence of logical events that might occur in order for you to resolve the headache. Take a second to think about a series of activities that seems logical to you to help you resolve your headache. That is, create a logic model to resolve your headache. You might first experience the headache and know that you should take some Tylenol and that you need to find a quiet resting spot. So you take the medication and then you rest. What might affect the outcome, that is whether or not the headache goes away, is the number of hours that you sleep or the number of Tylenol that you take. You may feel better and you may no longer have the headache. To use the language of a logic model, I might say that the Tylenol and rest is the input, taking the medication and rest is the activity, the number of hours you sleep or the number of Tylenol that you take is the output, the short-term outcome is that you feel better, and the long-term outcome is that you no longer have a headache. So given that everyday example, what do you think logic models are? Simply put, a logic model is a graphic depiction that provides an overview of a program or process. It describes how a program or process is supposed to work, with the key word there being supposed to work. Logic models can be used in a variety of different ways, in a variety of contexts, and for a wide range of purposes. They can be used in program or curriculum design to plan a process or policy, to guide the implementation of a program or a process, or to evaluate a program, a curriculum, a process, or a policy. However, it is important to note that logic models represent the intention of a given program, process, curriculum, or policy. A logic model may not always be the reality of what is, for example, happening on a day-to-day basis in the program itself. Remember, logic models describe how a program is supposed to work. Many who use logic models talk about them as if-then sequences. Reading from left to right, a logic model portrays a series of if-then relationships. If you have certain resources, that is inputs, then you will be able to provide certain activities, and so on and so forth. There are several worksheets that I have uploaded in the Learning Activities section for Module 2 that will help you in the development of the logic model for your program that you have selected to focus on for this course. After the presentation, I encourage you to work through each of the worksheets. So let's take a closer look at some of the components that are included in a logic model. Inputs are the human, financial, organizational, and community resources needed for a program or process. What might be an example of an input for the program that you have chosen for this course? Activities are the things that a program or process does with the resources to work towards its desired outcomes. When thinking about activities for our program, we always want to use action words or verbs. That is, we want to conduct something, develop something, distribute something, identify something. What might be an example of some activities for the program that you are focusing on for this course? Next, we have outputs. Outputs are the direct products of the activities themselves. They are often expressed in terms of units, number of hours, number of people, number of completed actions. When you're developing your logic model, you don't have to specify the exact number of hours or the exact number of people. You can simply just include the number sign. You just want to be keeping track of some of the outputs that you should be gathering information on as a result of the activities themselves. The important thing to remember is that outputs are often tangible, countable things. Simply put, they are the evidence that the program was actually implemented. Often multiple outputs are needed to achieve one outcome. Another way to look at outputs is what do we need to collect information on in order to know that the given outcome has occurred. Oftentimes, the things that we need to collect are the outputs themselves. So the number of hours a person spent in the program, the number of people who registered for the program, and so on and so forth. So ask yourself, what evidence will I need to collect to know if the outcome for my program occurred? Lastly, there are outcomes. Outcomes are the changes that the program hopes to achieve. When talking about outcomes in your logic model, you want to be sure to include the direction of change. We're hoping to increase something, decrease something, or maintain status quo. It's also important to remember that certain outcomes must occur before others. We have short-term outcomes, think immediate changes that your program is going to have on individuals, and long-term outcomes. Here we're thinking about ultimate goals or the social and economic consequences of the activities in a certain program. So how do we develop logic models for a program? Some people like to start with the activities first. Program staff and stakeholders are often most comfortable talking about what they do in a program or what they intend to do. So this would be starting with the activities first to develop the logic model. They would identify all activities involved in the program and then create a series of if-then statements. If we do X, then Y will occur. They would then start in the middle of the logic model and work to complete both ends. Others start with the end in mind. They would start with the outcome first. What are your long-term desired outcomes for the program? We would record those into the logic model. Then ask ourselves, what evidence will I need to collect to know if I have achieved those outcomes? Moving on to the outputs category. And then asking myself, what activities will produce this evidence? It's totally up to you whether or not you start with the outcomes first or the activities first. Remember that when we're completing a logic model, it doesn't necessarily have to be in sequential order. You can go back and forth between the various components. There is a series of worksheets that I've uploaded for this module that will help you get started on your logic model. Most importantly, I've included a variety of different examples of logic models so that you'll see that there's no one way to create a logic model, that there are many variations and types of logic models. There's no right way to do it. And it all depends on your purpose of the program and how you will use the logic model in your evaluation work. The stakeholders for your program may also have specific requests when it comes to the logic model itself. So I now encourage you to look at the learning activity area for Module 2 to review some of the numerous examples that I've posted on there. You may choose one of those examples to inform the development of the logic model for the program that you've decided to focus on for this course. As part of assignment 1 for this course, you will be developing a logic model for the program that you have selected to create an evaluation proposal for. A logic model is often a key piece of information in an evaluation proposal. So for assignment 1, as detailed in the syllabus, you will describe the program that you are focusing on, explain your understanding of a program logic model in general. So in order to do that, you'll want to be drawing on some of the required readings for this week, and think about explaining the logic model to those who may be involved in the program but know nothing about a logic model or program evaluation. How would you explain a program logic model to them? What is a logic model? Why is the logic model important? You will then go on to create a logic model for the program that you have chosen and explain how you created the logic model for the program. So what information did you use to create it? Where did you obtain that information? Was it from stakeholders from the program? Was it from a website for the program? Was it from peer-reviewed literature that focused on similar type programs? So how did you go about creating that logic model for the program that you've chosen? You will include this logic model as part of your proposal and as part of your assignment, and then you will upload that assignment to Brightspace. For this module, I'd also like you to reflect on one benefit of using logic models in the development or evaluation of your own program, and what did you find most challenging about the development of the logic model. You can feel free to post some of your reflections on the Module 2 discussion board. You can also post any questions that you may have about the development of logic models there, or email me, and we can set up a time to meet to discuss the development of the logic model for your selected program. Have a great week.